There's a reason tourists flock to Paris, Barcelona, and Amsterdam. These cities feel alive. Streets are alive with the hum of conversation, the clatter of bicycles, the aroma of fresh bread wafting from corner cafes. Public squares invite people to stay. Parks offer a calm retreat without the vast emptiness of a suburban extension. In short, these cities are designed for humans. And yet, around the world, cities are trying and failing to replicate this magic. From Dubai to Austin, municipal planners and developers dream of cobblestone streets, chic cafes, and vibrant plazas, hoping to bottle the European experience. But for every successful adaptation, there are dozens of sterile, hollow, European-style neighborhoods where charm is painted on rather than earned through centuries of thoughtful urban evolution. So why do we keep copying Europe's cities? And more importantly, why do we keep getting it wrong? To answer this, we need to examine what makes European cities work, why their style is so seductive, and why modern imitations rarely capture the soul behind the facade. Chapter 1. What European cities actually do right. European cities have long been admired as models of urban design, but the admiration is not superficial. Their streets, neighborhoods, and public spaces are products of centuries of experimentation, adjustment, and cultural evolution. The principles that underpin their success go beyond aesthetics. They're rooted in human needs, social cohesion, and functional efficiency. Understanding what European cities do right can provide actionable lessons for planners worldwide. One of the most striking features of European cities is density designed for livability. Unlike many modern high-rise developments which cram people into buildings with minimal social infrastructure, European urban density balances population with public space. Consider Barcelona's Eixample district, designed by Ildefons Cerdà in the 19th century. Its grid layout with chamfered corners, interior courtyards, and uniform street widths maximizes walkability while maintaining adequate light and ventilation. The design creates streets and blocks that are human scale, supporting vibrant street life without crowding residents. This density allows for a high concentration of shops, cafes, schools, and cultural venues, fostering urban ecosystems that function naturally without heavy reliance on cars. Similarly, Paris exemplifies how thoughtful density supports urban life. Haussmann's renovation in the 19th century introduced wide boulevards and uniform building heights that facilitated movement and social interaction. By structuring population density around mixed-use neighborhoods, Paris enables both accessibility and social vibrancy. The key lesson is that density is not merely a numbers game. High population must be paired with well-planned streets, amenities, and green spaces to enhance quality of life. European streets are intuitively human-centric. Buildings, sidewalks, street furniture, and lighting are proportioned to people, not vehicles. This attention to scale transforms mere infrastructure into inviting usable spaces. In Amsterdam, streets are narrow and intimate, with buildings aligned to create a sense of enclosure that encourages walking. In contrast, many modern cities prioritize cars, resulting in wide empty roads and pedestrian-unfriendly intersections. European urban design demonstrates that when cities prioritize human perception and movement, streets become social arenas rather than traffic conduits. Human-scale design also extends to micro-features like the placement of benches, trees, and lighting, fosters comfort, and encourages lingering. These seemingly small details accumulate to create a city that feels safe, accessible, and alive. Europe's success is tightly coupled with efficient multimodal transit systems. Cities like Vienna, Berlin, and Amsterdam have invested in integrated networks of trains, trams, buses, and bicycles that connect residential areas to employment centers and cultural hubs. Public transport is not an afterthought. It's central to the city's functionality. Amsterdam's cycling infrastructure is a prime example. Dedicated lanes, traffic-calmed streets, and safe parking facilities make cycling both convenient and culturally normative. Residents do not perceive bicycles as alternatives. They're integrated to daily life. In cities where this integration is missing, attempts to emulate it often fail because infrastructure alone cannot change ingrained behavior. Public transit systems in Europe also support economic equality. Affordable, reliable options ensure mobility for all residents, contributing to social cohesion and reducing car dependency. The lesson is clear. Sustainable mobility requires a comprehensive user-focused approach rather than isolated interventions. Another hallmark of European urban design is mixed-use neighborhoods where residential, commercial, and cultural activities coexist naturally. This integration creates streets that are active throughout the day, not just during working hours. In Barcelona, small shops, markets, cafes, and homes coexist within walking distance. This proximity allows residents to meet daily needs without driving, encourages local economies, and fosters spontaneous social interactions. Paris achieves similar effects through its carefully regulated ground floor commercial spaces and residential upper floors, ensuring that streets remain animated and socially relevant. Mixed-use planning also strengthens resilience. Neighborhoods with diverse functions can adapt more effectively to economic or demographic shifts because their infrastructure supports multiple activities rather than a single-purpose use. Modern cities often fail to replicate this, zoning areas exclusively for residential or commercial use and thereby creating lifeless districts. Perhaps the most underappreciated factor in European cities' success is cultural continuity. Streets, squares, and neighborhoods have evolved over centuries, reflecting changes in commerce, population, and technology, while preserving the underlying urban fabric. This evolution fosters a sense of identity and place that purely modern interventions struggle to achieve. Rome's piazzas, for example, are not just architectural features, they're social stages where life unfolds daily, shaped by centuries of civic rituals, markets, and gatherings. These spaces are adaptive. They accommodate festivals, protests, street performers, and everyday socialization. Similarly, Venice's canal network is not just picturesque, it was designed for commerce and transportation, evolving organically with the city's needs. Cultural continuity provides more than aesthetics, it underpins urban functionality. Cities with deep historical layers offer intuitive navigation, established public spaces, and social norms that encourage engagement. Attempting to replicate this in new developments without time, culture, or iterative adaptation leads to superficial limitations. Finally, European cities excel in creating public spaces that function as social infrastructure. Parks, squares, and pedestrian streets are not luxuries, they're essential components of urban life. Consider Lisbon's plazas or Florence's piazzas. These spaces invite residents and visitors to gather, converse, and interact in a shared urban environment. Well-designed public spaces enhance social cohesion, support mental health, and stimulate local economies. They're flexible. They host farmers markets, political rallies, concerts, and casual leisure simultaneously, demonstrating versatility that many new developments overlook. The lesson for modern urbanism is straightforward. Invest in public spaces that prioritize human engagement over aesthetics alone. The vitality of a city is measured not by buildings alone, but by the life that unfolds between them. In the long run, what European cities do right can be summarized as a coherent set of principles. These principles combine to create cities that are walkable, vibrant, equitable, and resilient. European urban design is not merely a style or aesthetic choice, it's a functional philosophy rooted in the realities of human life. For modern planners seeking inspiration, the takeaway is clear. European cities succeed not because of superficial beauty, but because they integrate social, cultural, and infrastructural intelligence into every block, street, and plaza. Copying the surface will fail. Understanding and applying the principles can transform urban environments into places where people want to live, work, and connect. Chapter 2: Why the World Keeps Trying to Imitate European Cities. European cities have become aspirational models for urban planners, architects, and governments worldwide. Their combination of walkable streets, human-scale design, vibrant public life, and efficient transit has inspired a generation of city builders seeking to replicate these qualities. But the fascination is not superficial. Understanding why the world tries to imitate European cities requires examining social, economic, and political motivations, as well as cultural perceptions of urban success. One of the most prominent frameworks borrowed from European urbanism is the 15-minute city concept. Coined by Carlos Moreno and popularized in Paris, this model emphasizes proximity. Residents should be able to access work, schools, shops, healthcare, and recreation within 15 minutes by foot or bike. European cities exemplify this naturally through historical density, mixed-use neighborhoods, and human-scale street networks. City governments around the world have embraced this idea as a blueprint for modern urban life. Melbourne has experimented with neighborhood hubs and active transport corridors. Bogotá has reimagined urban mobility through ciclovia and integrated public spaces. Even suburban areas in North America are attempting micro-scale interventions to mimic European accessibility. The 15-minute city is alluring because it promises sustainability, social cohesion, and economic vitality in a single coherent framework. Moreover, European cities are visually appealing, and their image has become globalized. Cobblestone streets, historic facades, canal networks, and piazzas are instantly recognizable symbols of culture and sophistication. Urban planners and developers are actually aware of the Instagram effect, where picturesque European streets are aspirational backdrops for social media, branding, and tourism. This aesthetic appeal drives imitation. Developers label new projects as Little Paris or European Quarter to signal prestige and attract investors. City councils adopt European-style street furniture, bike lanes, and public squares as visible signals of modernity and progress. The phenomenon is not purely superficial. The visual language of Europe communicates livability, safety, and sophistication, qualities cities want to project to residents, businesses, and tourists alike. Meanwhile, European urbanism is also economically compelling. Walkable, vibrant neighborhoods generate measurable economic benefits. Shops, cafes, and cultural venues thrive in streets designed for pedestrians rather than vehicles. Higher foot traffic increases retail revenue and encourages entrepreneurship. Property values rise in districts that successfully emulate European livability. Cities aiming to attract talent and investment see European-style design as a competitive advantage. Knowledge workers and creative professionals are increasingly selective about urban environments, often preferring walkable, culturally rich neighborhoods with accessible amenities. By attempting to copy Europe, cities hope to cultivate environments that attract both residents and businesses, creating virtuous economic cycles. Also, it's important to recognize that many planners genuinely aim to improve urban life. European cities provide proven models for sustainability, accessibility, and community engagement. The intention behind imitation is often not mere mimicry, but a desire to replicate outcomes, lower car dependence, higher social interaction, and better health metrics. For instance, Copenhagen-inspired bike infrastructure in cities like Portland, Oregon, emerged from evidence that cycling reduces congestion, pollution, and public health costs. Similarly, Singapore's human-centric urban villages draw inspiration from Amsterdam's mixed-use neighborhoods to create communities that are livable, walkable, and socially cohesive. The global spread of these ideas demonstrates that European cities are not just admired aesthetically, they're studied analytically for their urban performance. However, European urbanism has also become a form of cultural export, a type of soft power. Cities like Paris, Amsterdam, and Barcelona are associated not only with architecture, but with a lifestyle, leisurely walks, cafe culture, accessible public spaces, and vibrant street life. Governments, developers, and tourists worldwide perceive these cities as benchmarks of sophistication and quality of life. By imitating European urban models, cities attempt to import not just physical design principles, but the social and cultural cachet associated with them. This phenomenon is particularly noticeable in globalized real estate markets, where residential districts styled after European neighborhoods appeal to affluent buyers seeking a cosmopolitan identity. Several cities illustrate the global drive to replicate European urbanism. In the late 20th century, Portland adopted European-inspired pedestrian and cycling infrastructure. The city emphasized compact neighborhoods, mixed-use zoning, and human-scale design, positioning itself as a European-style American city. Inspired by European models of walkability and public transport, Bogotá has implemented ciclovia and developed a robust bus rapid transit system. The goal is to emulate European accessibility while addressing local traffic and health challenges. Dubai's European quarters mimic Parisian boulevards, Italian piazzas, and Venetian canals. These developments serve as luxury destinations for tourism and residents, illustrating how European aesthetics are used as a marketing tool as much as an urban planning philosophy. Though geographically distant from Europe, Singapore incorporates Amsterdam-style neighborhood planning and pedestrian-centric streets in its modern urban villages, balancing density with social cohesion. These examples reveal a common pattern of imitation that stems from a mix of genuine planning ambition, economic opportunity, cultural aspiration, and aesthetic appeal. A core reason cities try to imitate Europe is the perception that its urban design principles are universally applicable. Walkability, density, mixed-use zoning, and public space accessibility are framed as solutions to global urban challenges, from traffic congestion to climate change. This perceived universality encourages planners to adopt European frameworks wholesale. The logic is compelling. If it works in Paris, Amsterdam, or Barcelona, it should theoretically work elsewhere. However, this approach often ignores the nuances of climate, culture, governance, and existing infrastructure, which is why imitation frequently fails in practice. Nevertheless, the allure of European urbanism remains strong because it represents a tested and attractive template. Chapter 3: Why the Copies Often Fail. For decades, cities around the world have attempted to replicate the charm and functionality of European urban environments. From new urbanist neighborhoods in the United States to luxury developments in the Middle East, the allure of Parisian boulevards, Amsterdam canals, and Barcelona superblocks is undeniable. Yet, despite significant investment and careful planning, most of these attempts fall short. Understanding why these copies fail requires examining structural, cultural, and political realities that European cities have developed over centuries, contexts that cannot be simply transplanted. One of the most significant barriers to successful imitation is car dependence. Many modern cities were built or expanded with the automobile at the center of urban planning. Highways, wide arterial roads, and dispersed residential zones create environments where walking, cycling, or public transit are inconvenient or unsafe. Attempting to graft European-style pedestrian streets or cycling lanes onto such infrastructure often produces ineffective or underused amenities. A bike lane in a car-dominated suburb may exist physically, but fails to change behavior. Amsterdam's success with cycling is not merely about lane markings. It relies on cultural acceptance, traffic-calm streets, dense development, and integrated transit, all interdependent systems that cannot be replicated superficially. Another common obstacle is rigid zoning. European cities evolved with mixed-use neighborhoods where residential, commercial, and civic spaces coexist. Modern urban planning, particularly in North America and parts of Asia, often enforces strict zoning laws, separating housing, offices, and retail. This creates dead districts that lack the vibrancy European streets naturally sustain. Even when planners introduce European-style plazas or pedestrian corridors, the surrounding zoning may prevent shops, cafes, or local markets from establishing themselves. Without the organic mixture of uses, streets appear designed but lifeless. Imitation fails when structural regulations inhibit the social interactions that give European cities their vitality. However, European urbanism is the product of centuries of incremental development, whereas many modern imitations operate within short political cycles. Urban planners in new cities face pressure to deliver visible results within a few years or even a single term. Cultural, social, and infrastructural changes that make streets vibrant in Europe took decades, if not centuries. In contrast, modern projects often prioritize aesthetic features without cultivating the underlying social networks and organic growth that give these elements meaning. Political short-termism produces developments that look European but fail to function as living, adaptable urban spaces. Meanwhile, cultural context is crucial. Outdoor cafes, public markets, and cycling culture flourish in Europe due to long-standing social norms. Attempting to transplant these behaviors without understanding local culture often results in failure. For example, a pedestrianized plaza in a suburban US town may remain empty if the local population is accustomed to driving everywhere. Similarly, cycling infrastructure in cities without a biking culture often sees minimal adaptation, regardless of lane quality or signage. European urban life is as much social and behavioral as it is physical. Copying streets alone cannot recreate the societal patterns that animate them. Many imitations also suffer from tokenism, the superficial adoption of European features without integrating underlying principles. Cities may install bike lanes, small plazas, or narrow streets, but if these elements are isolated or disconnected from broader infrastructure and policy, they fail to produce meaningful urban life. An artificial European quarter with cobblestones and cafes might look charming in promotional materials, but remain sterile because residents do not interact naturally in the space. Successful European cities achieve vitality by combining density, mixed-use planning, social norms, and transportation integration. Another frequent problem is developer capture. In many modern cities, projects labeled as European style are designed primarily for affluent buyers rather than public benefit. Luxury housing with cobblestone streets, boutique shops, and artificial canals may emulate the appearance of Europe, but fail to provide inclusive urban life. In genuine European neighborhoods, streets are public spaces used by people of all socioeconomic levels. Without this inclusivity, copied districts may be aesthetically successful but socially sterile. When urban design prioritizes profit over public engagement, European principles are applied only visually, not functionally. By following these principles, cities can cultivate authentic urban vitality, creating streets and neighborhoods that are not merely European in appearance, but functionally successful and socially engaging. True urban inspiration is not just about copying the past, but about understanding it, learning from it, and adapting it to the context of the future.